Hey, somebody's got to rig the baits. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today, with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. This week, the Professional Noticer is sponsored by Books for Veterans. The Veterans Administration in Washington, D.C. has asked for 10,000 Andy Andrews books. I'm personally donating as many as I can, but to reach 10,000, I need your help. What we're able to do to make that easier for you is for every $10 donation you make, a hardback book will be sent to the Veterans Administration for veterans, for their families, and for the employees of the VA. That $10 will cover the cost of the hardback book, the shipping, and the handling. So whether you can make this a personal gift or a corporate donation, just go to andyandrews.com/veterans. And this can be added to a website purchase or done as an individual entry. And thanks very much for your support. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And today we have a very special guest. We have the director and co-founder of American Warrior Initiative. She's also a friend of mine, and American Warrior Initiative was created to educate, encourage, and inspire Americans to give back to the military and our veterans. And I want you to please welcome Louise Thaxton. Hey, Louise, how are you?
Hey, Andy, and thank you for inviting me. I am honored and humbled to be part of this. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. I am amazed. You know, I was on the phone with you on a FaceTime call the other day with you and one of the veterans that you guys were honoring. And I'm just amazed at the work that you guys do. And so would you give us an overview of just what you do? And then we'll go into how you started and what inspired all this.
Well, you know, Andy, it's pretty simple what we do. We find the need and fill the need. People say, well, do you just give away service dogs? No, we actually do home repairs. We put in a walk-in bathtub for a Vietnam veteran and his wife. We replaced the floor of a World War II veteran who refused to leave his home, and the bathroom floor was falling in. We hired a contractor to go in and replace his floor. We have done housing grants, medical expense grants. We've done family grants. We've helped buy wheelchairs for the children of veterans. We have done emotional support dogs for veterans' families. We have done so much. It's find the need and fill the need. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm trying to we've given away cars. We've helped people start businesses. We helped a young man in Alabama who wanted to start a carpenter business, but he needed a truck and he needed the tools. So we outfitted him to start his business. People say, well, you know, we want to help someone get a car. I said, well, you know what? A veteran may not need a car in your location. You know, we find the need and fill the need. One of the needs that needs to be met, Andy, is education of our civilian population in America. That is truly, I think the average American does not realize the challenges that our men and women, when they return home from war, the challenges that they go through. And so,
Right.
You know, you gave it educate, encourage, inspire others to give back. I think once we educate people, they are inspired to give back. I
agree.
They want to. I mean, it's like, I don't have to push people to give. When they find out the need, they give.
I agree. And you guys do boot camps, and you direct those boot camps toward real estate, right? Real estate offices.
We do.
Because you are a military mortgage specialist.
Yes.
Which is
the designation exclusively for Fairway. We created that 9 years ago. We just had the anniversary 9 years ago. And Steve Jacobson, Jake, as I called him, is the CEO of Fairway. That's where I've worked for 20 plus years. And we just had our 25th anniversary, the company. And right now I am number 18 employee. So there's 17 people out of 10,000 who have been at Fairway longer than me. So
Wow.
in 9 years ago, well, actually it was 10 years ago, Jake heard me speak, and I do a lot of speaking, public speaking, and in the mortgage industry and in the real estate industry. And I'm just passionate about educating people on the challenges. And he said, why don't you build something within Fairway that educates people? And so I did. And then it expanded to real estate agents, because we partner with real estate agents, title companies. You know, a lot of those are connecting industries. And you know, it would just seem like a natural fit that went around doing boot camps, teaching continuing education, because we all need continuing education as a professional. And so teaching that, but part of the teaching is, I said, now I'm not going to teach you how to do VA loans. What I am going to teach you is, here's some of the challenges that our veterans face, and what can you do as a real estate agent, as a title company, as a loan officer. Andy, you're doing stuff to give back and always have, and you're a speaker and author. Everybody in America could do something, even if it's just pray for them,
Right.
Send a card of encouragement. You don't have to have a lot of money to encourage somebody. And sometimes that's all they need, is just a little bit of encouragement to, just get through today.
Right. Tell me about the boot camps.
Well, the boot camps were designed that we would go into communities and we let boots on the ground gather people together for an event. And then once they're there, I always say I trick them, because they think they're coming for CE. But then what I'd want to do, I'm not talking to their head, Andy. I'm talking to their heart.
Right.
I'm talking to their heart. And it is I used to think, like, and the average attendance 150 or 200. And I once thought, man, I want to go in and I want to just speak to everybody, and I want 200 people to leave transformed. And I soon realized that's not going to happen. And you know that as a speaker, not everyone's going to hear the message, hear it with their heart. But what I found out, if one person, it's like a match and it lights a forest fire. And I have left communities, just been there one time, but spoke to someone who said, I'm going to take this and run with it. And they're a force for good in their community. And that's what we want to do, is just wake people up. And then they rally together and do stuff in their community that not only brings awareness to the average civilian of the challenges, but brings awareness to veterans in that community that there are civilians who care. We talk about bridging the military civilian divide. Civilians don't know, veterans don't even know that civilians want to know. And so it is bridging that divide to tell veterans and active duty military, there's people who care. They just didn't know.
Right. Now, tell me how. I am unsure as to how you and Sean connected. Sean Parnell he's the author of Outlaw Platoon, and he's an American hero. And Sean is a great friend of mine and yours. But how were you guys connected? Because you co-founded American Warrior Initiative.
So 9 years ago, I started teaching these classes, and what we would do, I actually partnered with a nonprofit called the Boot Campaign. It was based out of Texas, and people have seen me wear my boots, and it came from the Boot Campaign. I became one of the boot girls, and I was an advocate, and that was the nonprofit that we supported. And part of what we did when we went into these boot camps is we would get, and I always use the Boot Campaign, they had a group of veteran speakers, people who had written books and would speak. And so I don't know if you know Joey Jones, but he's a speaker, and he's got a huge voice in the military community. Joey Jones does, but he was one of the speakers. So from April of 2012, and then May, and then the summer, we would get speakers. Well, in August of 2012, we were going to Tucson, Arizona. And the Boot Campaign said, well, no, it was one of our Fairway people. Dawn Pemberton said, Louise, have you read Sean Parnell's book, Outlaw Platoon? I said, I haven't. She said, you need to read it, and we need to get him to speak at our next event. Well, he was one of the speakers for the boot campaign. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, I read the book. It's awesome. Can we get Sean to come and speak in Tucson? Well, what happened in Tucson was interesting because up until this time, we had only been speaking to loan officers. And the Tucson group said, can we invite real estate agents? And I said, sure. And over 200 real estate agents came, and I met Sean for the first time. And I thought, you know what? I kind of like this dude. Why don't we invite him back the next time? And then the next event, why don't we invite Sean back the next time and the next time and the next time? And then a few times we said, why don't we just make him our Fairway veteran liaison? Why don't he be our veteran ambassador? And he came on board. All this time we were still the Boot Campaign, which is an amazing nonprofit, bootcampaign.com, amazing nonprofit. Marcus and Morgan Luttrell, both huge influences in that. And I know you know those names from
Right.
Survivor. Marcus Luttrell, Navy SEAL, and Lone Survivor. You didn't read the book or watch the movie, but they were very influential in that nonprofit. And I love that nonprofit and still serve on the board. But a couple of years later, once again, we had Sean and we were traveling. Sean and I began to want to expand and said, you know what, we need our own nonprofit. No offense against the Boot Campaign, but we need to create our own. And that's how Sean and I came up with the American Warrior Initiative. And of course, our CEO who says, they served us, now we serve them. You build it. That's what he said. You build it and we'll fund it. And he has. And so for all of these years, Andy, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, under the leadership of Steve Jacobson, has underwritten all expenses for our nonprofit, which means if you give $1 to the American Warrior Initiative, $1 goes to a local veteran or active duty military or first responders. Now, we've added first responders several years ago because they're heroes too. So we've done a lot with policemen, with firefighters. There's just a whole group of heroes in America, and many times our first responders are veterans, have been active duty,
Right.
serving in another capacity. A good example of that is Ben Lunak, who lost his leg in Afghanistan. He came on board with us. He lived in Phoenix. He came on board with the AWI team. And I always knew we were just not dangerous enough for him, Andy. It just... he had one leg, but he ran in marathons and he was just a crazy guy and I loved him. And I said, but you know what? We're just not dangerous enough. And he actually left the American Warrior Initiative and became the first amputee to join a Colorado police force, and went through school and everything. And I said, well, of course, the guy's going to go out there. There's something in there, some of those guys' DNA, Andy, and gals, that they have just got to put their life in between danger and the civilian. That's just in their DNA, and they're going to look for it. They're going to find a way to stop the bullet, to stop the evil from coming again for a civilian. That's amazing, and that's who we serve.
Well, I continually am amazed at what you guys do, and one of the things that I think is so great is that you have a broad, I guess, a broad target, because it's not just one thing. You have the ability, because it's a nonprofit and privately funded, you have the ability to, I know of the guy who he and his wife had in vitro and had a baby and
he named him Jake.
named him Jake. Yeah, named him Jake. And so the service dogs that you guys give and the mortgages and it covers the gamut. And And having talked to Sean as much as I have, and understand where his heart is with the platoon members, and what has unfolded in their lives since they've returned, it's something that I feel like America we have to pay attention to these men and women.
Andy, our goal in 2020, we were in the Seattle airport on the very day that the first case of coronavirus was discovered. The entire AWI team had flown out to Seattle, Washington. Do you remember the first case? It was discovered in the Seattle airport. Someone had been in Seattle, and we were there. And that was our first and last event of 2020. And I will just tell you, I've now become, I can talk about it, but, for me, and I know I'm speaking to a lot of people, I thought, well, this will be for like a few weeks. And then I thought, well, it'll be a couple of months. And then I woke up and realized, it's very hard for me to admit this, that I was depressed. There was a depression. And I thought, now, if I feel this way, how does a combat vet who can no longer interact at some of the veteran organizations that they needed that gatherings, they needed that time with other veterans. I thought, if I feel this way, then I still had a job. We were still working. And I just really had a long talk with myself and get your butt up, girl, and do something. And I ordered a Zoom call. Like, I just got up and said, we're doing something. I'm not going to be depressed. I cannot go into communities and do stuff, but by God, I can still do stuff. And I immediately told Farron Burker is one of our AWI reps. He's amazing. And I told Farron, I said, you get the name of every veteran we've served, and we've served hundreds. And I said, you send them $500 because right now, I don't know where they are, but I bet they need $500. We're going to send them a $500 gift card right now. We're going to do something right now. I started sending dog food gift certificates to the veterans who had dogs. We said, give them some money during this time. Reached out. Do you have some of our veterans were business owners during this COVID time whose business had been shut down. So we reached out. So we started, literally 2020 was a whole lot of behind the scenes, Andy, just reaching out to veterans. And if there was anybody that we knew that needed it, helping that person. Our goal of 100 dogs didn't happen in 2020, and I'll tell you why. Service dog companies shut down, so they stopped training dogs. Breeders shut down because they didn't have a place to put their dogs. So suicide rate, which I've always talked about as being 22 per day, skyrocketed for veterans. Of course, suicide rates across America skyrocketed, but especially among veterans, as I said, of all groups of people that need interaction and need that time to connect with other veterans, they didn't have it. So everything opening up, 100 dogs in 2021. You mark this day down. If I have to become a breeder myself and dogs myself, Andy, we're going to put 100 dogs in the hands, hearts, and lives of 100 veterans this year. We are. You mark it down on this day, April the 20th. And we're not there yet. And I'll tell you the truth. We've got a lot of the funding, but we've got to have dogs and we've got to have trainers. And
right.
That's a real challenge right now with people coming out of being locked down and things not being open. And that is hurt. That's been one of the unintended consequences of this virus is that.
So how much does a dog cost?
I want to say approximately $10,000. We have purchased dogs for $10,000. We've purchased dogs for $5,000. We've purchased dogs for $15,000 and $17,000. It depends upon the location, the breed of the dog, the trainer, the type of, like if a dog is going to be trained to be like to help someone who's blind or deaf, it's going to be more extensive training than it is a post-traumatic stress dog that helps someone go into Walmart and Target and not feel alone. See, a lot of our veterans will not leave their home, but once they get a dog, things change for them. I've heard too many times, and we are now selling Red Friday shirts because, Andy, we wear red on Friday.
Yeah.
And the shirts now along the sleeve says these shirts save lives. And the reason that we say these shirts saves lives is the shirts go to my dog. And over and over and over, I've heard veterans say, that dog saved my life. That dog saved my marriage. That dog saved my kids. And even heard kids go, that dog saved my daddy, and
Wow.
I do not understand it. I am going to tell you the truth. I don't understand it. I cannot explain it. I just know it's true. It's a supernatural thing that happens between these dogs and veterans. And it's truly a miracle, and it is something to watch.
Well, I understand a little bit of it. I worked with special operations for 8 years and am still in contact with a lot of those people. And then you guys have been very generous. The Veterans Administration asked for books. And so you guys have been very generous in helping provide those books for the VA. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I also want to recognize Karen Vaughn, the Gold Star
She's
mom.
part of our American Warrior Initiative team. Yes.
Right. Aaron Vaughn's mom. He was the Navy SEAL that was killed several years ago in Afghanistan. And Karen, man, what a communicator and what a heart she has too. So
Karen's son, Aaron Vaughn, he died in August of 2011 when the helicopter that he and 29 others was shot down. And Karen's been on a mission since then, I would say, to bring awareness also, but to honor the veterans who have survived. And she always says that she wants to do for veterans what she would have wanted others to do for her son had he been able to come back. She's written an amazing book also. And Andy, the veteran that she introduced us to, Doug, who just said idol worship for Andy Andrews. And I have to go back to what you just said, the AWI, we're covering, some of those books that you're given to the VA. And I knew it would be a good idea because a book many times is healing. The words in a book is healing. A word. Books can transform someone's life. I believe that with all my heart. And it is the touch of God in a book. I believe God uses books. It may not be the Bible, Andy, but God uses books to touch the heart of people. And I know your books have done that. And so Doug, the veteran, was just idle word that Karen had introduced us to, and we had given Doug a dog. And then I found out, and it was his buddy that we flew to Seattle for that we gave another dog to. But Doug talked to me about your books, Andy. He started reading them when he was 15. He read all of your books. And then when he joined the Marines, he gave your books to other Marines. So that tells me it helped him. He wanted to help other Marines. And these books that were given to the VA, and the VA is spreading the word, that's going to help a lot of veterans. I believe it with all my heart.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate just your broader efforts. I think you're so necessary for our civilization in this country, and for people to come together. I just think you're such a necessary entity. How can people get in touch with you guys? We'll put all this on the show notes about how they can reach you, but tell us now how.
Well, you can go to our website, AmericanWarriorInitiative.com. You can donate. You can buy a Red Friday shirt. You can wear it on Friday. And Red Friday shirts, wear red on Friday to R, remember, E, everyone, D, deployed. That's why we wear red on Friday, is to remember everyone who was deployed, is deployed, and will be deployed. And remember their families too. I remember Karen and I were speaking at a high school in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and Karen she had come in for Patriots Day a a couple of years ago, and she was speaking to 1,200 students, 1,200 high school students in a gymnasium. Now, let me just say this. You could have heard a pin drop. You could have heard a pin drop. That's how they were so intent. And then we asked the question, how many of you have deployed parents, or have had deployed grandparents, or how many of you have deployed family? You would believe all over that gym, people raise their hands. You know what? We had not only thinking of those who are deployed, but the families they leave behind, to think about those families and to make a difference in their lives. So AmericanWarriorInitiative.com. If you want to email awi@fairwaymc.com. And I mean, get involved. Let's do something. One thing that someone with Fairway said the other day, and this was powerful to me, when he asked about the cost of a dog, just like you did, Andy, and he talked about his buddy that had committed suicide and who was a veteran and had taken his own life. And he said the cost of his funeral, that's another thing that the American Warrior Initiative has covered more times than I want to tell you. We covered the cost of 3 funerals last year when a veteran, his wife, and their daughter was killed in a home fire. We covered all 3 of their funerals. But this one young man committed suicide, took his life, and we covered the cost of his funeral. And so his friend was speaking. He said, the cost of a funeral and the cost of a dog is about the same amount.
Wow.
Let's buy the dog. And if we can the funeral.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's very powerful and very true. Thank you for being with us.
Andy, thank you for all you do for all of us at Fairway, all you do for America and the world, all you do for veterans, all you've done and all you're doing. I know you have a heart to serve, and thank you for that.
You are the best, Weezy, and I appreciate you so much, and American Warrior Initiative. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Andy.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing the tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Roasted Squab provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by The Telltale Tale. Does it bother you that you can't see what's happening behind you? Do you sometimes feel like someone is creeping up on your 6? Do you want that mom-like ability to use the eyes in the back of your head? Try the Telltale Tale, the patented motion detector that tells the tale of what's going on behind your tail. This simple detector technology clips onto the back of your pants. Hit the blue button to turn it on, and you're ready to go. Anytime someone crosses behind you, you'll be alerted with a bell alarm giving you time to spin around and address whatever is sneaking up behind you. Don't be afraid to take a stroll down that dark alley at night anymore. Just strap on the Telltale Tale, and you'll be alerted right before some creature of the night grabs you. Are you really introverted? Well, add the special Telltale Tale attachment, the instant restraining order printer that attaches easily to your TTT unit. When your Telltale Tale sounds off that someone is behind you, just hit the green print button. This will drop a restraining order directly in the path of your follower, who will then be legally compelled to drop back at least 500 feet. Try the Telltale Tale today. When no one has your back, we have your tail.